About 2.5 years ago, I made a video about this pellet boiler, and I included with it all the high hopes that I had that it was going to work. And it's with a heavy heart that I announce that I'm going to have to go back to oil. I'll explain. There's a couple of important points I need to make before we go any further. Number one, the heating system you just saw represents a significant investment that was made. I was hoping that with the difference between the price of pellets versus the price of oil, it was going to pay itself off over time, and unfortunately that's not going to happen. Number two, the video that I'm making is in no way any kind of a condemnation of renewable energy. At the time that I put that boiler in, I notably said that moving away from fossil fuels is the right thing to do, and I still feel that that's true. But my hope is when you see what happened and why it did in my case, the viewer is going to make a more informed decision if they wish to move towards renewable energy. So let's start from the beginning. So this all started around the end of 2013. For whatever reason, I couldn't remember if it's a spike in demand or a drop in supply. The crude oil prices were very high. Home heating oil prices were about $5 a gallon for this. Myself and a lot of other people had a hard time heating their homes. At the same time, our boiler, which was installed in 1988, was due for a replacement. We were spending more and more and putting more and more into it just to keep it running, and it wasn't a very efficient system being so old. And our house is very old and it's not very energy efficient either. So something had to be done. We decided that because people were starting to take alternative energy, things like pellet fuels, more seriously, this started to look more and more attractive to us. Every indication was that now was our time to do this. So there was a heavy price tag for this. This is the most affordable one that we could find at the time too. There was a generous rebate from the State Public Utilities Commission, that helped. But all told, it was still thousands more than to simply replace our heating oil system. But we decided to do it thinking it was a long-term investment. And it was working well for a little while, but then some things started going wrong and I realized what was happening. One of the big things is the difference between a heating oil system and a system that has to try to make solid fuel move like a liquid. There's a lot of different things going on between the two of them. In designing the system, they solved a lot of the problems, but in doing so, they introduced a lot of moving parts that are susceptible to breaking down. With oil, you have the tank, you have the line, you have a filter, a pump and a burner, and that's pretty much it. With a pellet system, you have two different augers, a compressor, and igniter, basically a lot of moving parts. I'll go through it and show it to you all. So the way the pellets are delivered, a large truck shows up, it hooks a hose up to this, and it uses compressed air to blow 3 tons of pellets at a time into the hopper that you'll see in the basement in a minute. It's actually kind of cool to watch, but let me show you the whole thing as it goes from point to point. So from that point right there, it follows this tube. Pretty good distance through the basement, actually. And it shoots right there into this hopper. If I can get this. Yeah, you can see I took a shovel and I pushed them all to the middle because that's where they all come out. Otherwise you get this great big cave and then they don't feed and it doesn't start. Now from there, it goes to the bottom of the hopper. This is a very long auger that goes up there. You might hear it running because it's running right now. But there's one motor right there. It drops the pellets into this. There's another motor that pushes the pellets into the burner. And since it's running, you can see it right there. Now in the back, this is that compressor I was telling you about. And as you can see, the dust from this thing's no joke. Anyway, the compressor cleans out the pellet ash when it's done. It is worth noting that there are some good things about it. Like, for example, this interface here is connected to the internet, and I can see what the boiler's doing anywhere there's an internet connection. I can check it on my phone anytime I want. That's kind of nice, and this is what clues me in if it stops working for whatever reason. I'll check it and, oh, all right, I guess the house is going to be cold when I go downstairs because it's shut off, or, hey, great, it's working. When I come home from work, the house is going to be warm, kind of thing. So it does use a lot of modern technology, which is nice. I'll be curious to see if it has, if the new boiler that I ordered has the same kind of advancements from the last one I had. I mean, let's hope it does, since that was a 1988 boiler. It's come a long way since then. So in the end, what it really comes down to is cost, convenience, and maintenance. The manual for this tells you right off the bat that I think it's every 1.5 tons or so, the ashes need to be cleaned out of the bottom. That's easy, that's not a problem. They also tell you that you have to clean off the heat exchangers, which means probably 3 or 4 times during the winter season, opening this up, pulling them out, cleaning them off, dusting them off, and then you've got to clean all the inside, put it back together. That's not always pleasant. Then you have to clean the dust out of the bottom of the hopper. Now, in a lot of cases, these things are installed in a basement with a concrete floor. That's not a problem to get down there and do that, and it's easy to clean up. This is a dirt floor basement. That's not always pleasant, but it has to get done. In addition to that, the compressor has to be kept clean in order for that to work properly. Now, in terms of maintenance and replacement parts, like I said, the company that installed this will no longer service it, and it's been on me the whole time. So as far as replacing things, there's the igniters themselves, which go on a regular basis. Regular basis meaning, like, you know, maybe once every 8 or 9 months they have to be replaced. This big auger, thank God, has not failed, because I have no idea where I'm going to get another one. The smaller auger inside, I've actually replaced 4 times, and while that hasn't been easy, I've been able to do that because there's a place in Maine that I found that carries a lot of these parts. That's also where I get my igniters. Other problems include I've had problems with a leaky compressor, and I did have one problem with the main auger. At the bottom of the hopper, it collected a lot of dust, a little bit of moisture got in there, and it turned into a great big wood pellet, if you will, and it actually broke the end off of the metal spiral for the auger. I had to take it apart, cut the tube shorter, and put it all back together so the spiral reached all the way to the bottom. So that was an adjustment. So yeah, not really easy. They don't tell you this when they sell them to you. And this is just specific to this model, by the way. I can't speak to the other ones that are out there. I hear those are better, but I'm not sure what to believe at this point. So believe me when I say, I'm not happy that it's come to this, that after all this great experiment, we wanted to be on the leading edge of trying to do the right thing for a number of reasons. Some of you might be wondering, are there other options? Could you get another pellet boiler? Well, the problem is the ones that are available still and can be serviced are even more expensive than the one that we put in. So I don't have the kind of money to take a gamble like that again. We were promised the moon when this thing was installed, and that fell woefully short of what was expected for that. If you still want to do this, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it, but I would caution you for a few things. Number one, make sure that there are 1 or more pellet suppliers in your area. Number two, make sure that you're installing a model that has very good support from the installer and the parts are readily available. Some of you might be wondering, will the day come that I go back to pellet heat? Sure, that could very well happen. But all those things need to be in place before I make another leap like this. So that's all I have for this video. Leave your comments below. If you have anything to say, hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks.